you?
Hi, I'm Aaron Strain with Summerset Home Inspections. I'm the inspector and owner of the company. We're a relatively new business. I've been in the home inspection industry for about 8 years, but I started out on my own about 1.5 years ago. We've had it's been a great ride. We've been super busy. And I really love what we do. We take an educational approach to home inspection. We're not here to freak anybody out. We're just here to educate, tell you what's good and bad about the home, and help you in that home buying process.
Solid. I'm here with Aaron Strain, and he is inspector with Summerset Inspections, and we're excited to have you here. Welcome.
Well, thanks. It's great to be here.
Yes. So what we're going to do is we're just going to ask you a few questions, and you just let us know what you think about some of the
Sounds good. Sounds good. Fire away.
Okay, so tell me, how did you become an inspector?
You know, I kind of fell into it about 7 or 8 years ago. It's kind of dumb. I wanted to buy a new car, and I didn't want my wife to hassle me about how much I was spending. So I knew a guy who was a home inspector, and they were looking for a weekend person. And so I have a background in facility maintenance. I come from, my dad was a plumber, his dad was a plumber, my brother's a plumbing contractor. So I have some experience in the trades. And I picked up fairly quick, and I really enjoyed it. So I started out on Saturdays, and for like 2 years, I just did 3 inspections every Saturday, and I really enjoyed it. Then the company I was working for full-time got bought out. It seemed like a good time to make a transition, and so I started working full-time.
Very good.
That was about 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay, and that was kind of the next question is, what is the path to becoming an inspector? It sounds like you have a lot of hands-on, knowledge. Is that needed, or is it, can you take classes to learn it, or
Yeah, so I'm certified, I should say that. There's a couple certification organizations in the country. I've gone through InterNACHI, so I did some online classes, and then I went to Colorado for some additional schooling, and then we do some continuing education. To try to keep up with everything new going on in the construction industry and the different systems in the home.
Yeah, there's always something new, especially now that we have all smart homes and stuff. And I suppose now you have to start inspecting some of that stuff. That's all different and new, huh?
It is. Fortunately, the low voltage electronics, it's not something that we really deal with a lot. Mm-hmm. But you have to know, how many different types of thermostats are there, and you have to know how to operate each one, because you never know what's going to be in a home. And even little things like a stove, I've had to Google like the owner's manual of a stove one time to activate it and test it properly.
Oh wow!
So yeah, you just never know, and it's ongoing. Things are continually changing.
Yeah.
So tell me about the services that you provide.
Sure, we do home inspections on multifamily, single family, multifamily. So if you have a duplex or apartments, light industrial, I've inspected some warehouses and some things like that. But we also do like radon testing. The EPA tells us radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer, and Iowa has pretty high levels of it. And so we do a lot of radon testing. We do air quality testing, where we can take an air sample, we send it off to a lab, and they give us a list of what's in the air in that house. A lot of people take advantage of that who might have some respiratory issues that they might want to identify before moving into the home. And then sewer scopes. We do run a camera down a sewer line and give you the condition of the line, the material it's made out of, and if there's any concerns with the sewer line. And I always recommend people do the sewer scope. To me, it's a couple $100 service that could save you a $10,000 or $15,000 headache. And so, we're pretty happy with the results we get. Honestly, I think most people who get a home inspection are probably able to negotiate the cost of the inspection in the repairs and things like that from the buyer. You'd know more about that than me, but
yeah, it's pretty important to have that to negotiate.
So it's just I think that inspection report is just an important tool for negotiation.
So talk about, like, I was going to say, what are the top 10, top 5, whatever things that you inspect that are must do in an inspection?
Gotcha. The roof,
Mhm.
I would say, we've had some hail in our area around central Iowa.
The derecho.
Yeah, we've had derecho, we've had some hail. And honestly, probably in the last year, I found more roof damage than I did the last 3 years combined. And so you go into a new neighborhood, and the neighborhood might be 20 or 30 years old, but you see everybody on the block has a new roof. And it's not uncommon to see that.
Yeah.
And so it just happens with time. So a roof, I always like to get on it, walk it, get a good look at it. This time of year, sometimes if you have snow or ice on the roof, it's not always safe to do that, so we can't always do that. But it's definitely the preferred method. The next biggest thing I look for is like basement foundation in an older homes from 40s, 50s, 60s, with a block foundation. We want to make sure that, that structurally everything's sound, there's no cracking or bowing in that block. And then the electrical system is always something we take a good hard look at in homes that age too, because as homes are updated from an electrical standpoint, it's not always done at the same time. So part of a home might be updated, and the other part might be old knob and tube wiring. And so we're always on the lookout for, safety and function, and electrical definitely falls under the safety category.
Yeah. So what are when you walk into a home and you see something that's wrong, what's like the most common thing that you find that has to be fixed in a home?
Well, honestly, I make a report and put defects in the report, and then no one ever tells me what happens after that. So I don't know what gets fixed.
Well, you should follow up with us. We'll tell you which ones get fixed and ones don't.
But yeah, one of the most common things I see is a double tab in an electrical panel. If you've been a real estate agent for any amount of time, you've dealt with it or have seen it. Probably maybe half the houses I go into have 2 wires going to the same breaker that are only made to hold 1 wire. And one of those wires can become loose and cause arcing, and so that's why it's a safety concern in the reports. So that's probably the biggest thing I would guess. And then there's a lot, leaking in the shutoff valve for the plumbing, in the water in the basement. That's a common one. Those are some of the big things. The shingles, we talked about shingles.
Yeah. So think about the worst house you inspected. Do you have that in your mind?
Yeah.
What was the biggest issue?
Gosh, there was a lot of issues. First off, I'll tell you that the buyer, it was going to be an investment property.
Okay.
And the buyer and the realtor wouldn't go into it.
Oh.
And then I saw some squirrels in the attic. And so it's not terrifying, but it's uncomfortable. They're up there. And they told me, I don't know, they told me that there were bed bugs in this home. When I was in the basement, I saw mice. There was like a little mouse just kind of chilling out on the slump down.
Oh wow.
But some of the wall, the walls were going, and you just kind of worry about some of that thing, some of those things.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. Many times, people who buy homes that aren't going to live with them have a different standard of what's acceptable.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Give me kind of your elevator speech on why inspections are so important before you buy a house.
Home inspections are extremely important for a lot of reasons. So what happens is I'm going to go open all the doors and windows, check all the outlets and faucets, get on the roof, go through all those things. And we're going to identify some deficiencies. Any house, when I go to new construction homes, I'm going to find some deficiencies in there. And then as the years go by, the greater the chances that the house is going to need some work or something replaced. But as moving's hard enough, and then when you move into a house and you find all these things wrong that you weren't aware of, it's going to be so frustrating for people. And so I think that's part of the reason why a home inspection is so important. But I think it also brings value. It could be a negotiation tool. You have your list of items that needs fixed. maybe you don't want to fix them, and that's a great opportunity to team up with your realtor and kind of navigate through that.
Yeah, thank you. And one last question. This is one to make you think a little bit. So you're transported into 1776. What is one thing from today that you would bring with you?
From 1776. Morals, character.
No,
work
you're
ethic.
going back. You're going
Oh, I
back
gotta go
there.
back.
What would
I
you
gotta
bring
go back.
from today? What would be one thing you would bring with you today?
Oh my goodness.
If you had to go back in time to 1776, like you couldn't live without.
I would want to have like indoor plumbing and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Indoor plumbing's a big thing.
I think,
Yeah.
let's go with that. Let's
Yeah.
just stick with indoor plumbing.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Aaron. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And Aaron Strain again with Summerset Inspections.
All right.